This is Bill Newman, WHMP.
Show, we have a number of really interesting and I think important guests today. We have with us for an expanded version of an additional version of the Poet Laureate of Northampton, NPR, Northampton Public Radio, Rich Michelson, and he has
Poetry Radio.
Northampton Poetry Radio.
Got it in public there.
Oh my goodness! I
Right.
blew the joke.
Yeah, that's right.
A good start to the show, I'd say, wouldn't you? With him, Martin Espada, Rich Michelson.
Well, we're happy to have Martin. We're going to do this. We're going to jump right into the poetry. Martin was our guest, I think, a couple of months ago. And I think most people in the area know him. More than 15 books, a Massachusetts Book Award, an International Latino Book Award, finalist for the Pulitzer Prize, just about everything. But we're here for some holiday cheer. Martin, I know you have a poem that kind of sums up the year, talks a little bit about the year. Can you, I think it's a title poem of your book, The Angels of Bread?
This is a poem called Imagine the Angels of Bread. And the premise of the poem is very simple. What if this were the year that justice was finally done? So it's a poem with a political imagination. And,
Where does the title come from, Martin?
well, I think the poem will speak for itself.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Here we go. Imagine the angels of bread. This is the year that squatters evict landlords, gazing like admirals from the rail of the roof deck or levitating hands in praise of steam in the shower. This is the year that shawled refugees deport judges who stare at the floor and their swollen feet as files are stamped with their destination. This is the year that police revolvers stove hot blister the fingers of raging cops and nightsticks splinter in their palms. This is the year that dark-skinned men lynched a century ago return to sip coffee quietly with the apologizing descendants of their executioners. This is the year that those who swim the borders undertow and shiver in boxcars are greeted with trumpets and drums at the first railroad crossing on the other side. This is the year that the hands pulling tomatoes from the vine uproot the deed to the earth that sprouts the vine. The hands canning tomatoes are named in the will that owns the bedlam of the cannery. This is the year that the eyes stinging from the poison that purifies toilets awaken at last to the sight of a rooster-loud hillside pilgrimage of immigrant birth. This is the year that cockroaches become extinct, that no doctor finds a roach embedded in the ear of an infant. This is the year that the food stamps of adolescent mothers are auctioned like gold doubloons, and no coin is given to buy machetes for the next bouquet of severed heads in coffee plantation country. If the abolition of slave manacles began as a vision of hands without manacles, then this is the year. If the shutdown of extermination camps began as imagination of a land without barbed wire or the crematorium, then this is the year. If every rebellion begins with the idea that conquerors on horseback are not many-legged gods, that they too drown if plunged in the river, then this is the year. So may every humiliated mouth, teeth like desecrated headstones, fill with the angels of bread.
Amen. Amen. Beautiful. It's we need some hope for the new year. I think that is a poem that we're all going to keep in our hearts and our minds as we run down Martin. Just beautiful. Just beautiful.
It is. Not only can no one else really write like Martin, no one else can read like Martin. You are a beautiful reader of your own poetry and others.
Well, thank you. Yes, this is a poem of political imagination. It's a poem of not only hope, but a poem of extravagant hope. And before we can hope for great social change, it must be imagined first. And that's where the poets step in, I think.
And that's how you see your poetry. I mean, you see yourself as a poet, but a poet with a purpose.
Absolutely.
And that's, you were a tenant's rights lawyer back in another lifetime. You've done this work in one form or another for decades.
Yes, and whether I was working as a tenant lawyer or writing as a poet, it's all the same. I'm an advocate, speaking on behalf of those without an opportunity to be heard, and they are heard, make themselves heard in this poem.
Rich Michelson, you have another poem you want to share with us.
Well, this is another poem for the holiday season. This is a poem based actually in Martina and my old neighborhood in East New York, Brooklyn.
This conspiracy started a long time ago. That's what you're telling us?
We grew up a few blocks from each other. And this is a poem a little bit about the holiday season and what it's like being Jewish in the Christmas season. But also, even as a young child, not particularly being a believer, it's a little bit about being an atheist or an agnostic and in the time of miracles. And all that kind of confused together. I used to imagine Elijah in his chariot confused with Santa in his sleigh. And this is called Elijah versus Santa. I just want to say one thing just because of the last week's shootings. The word shooting here is actually as in parachuting. Shooting. Elijah versus Santa. Weight advantage, Santa. Sugar and milk at every stop. The stout man shimmies down one more chimney. Sack of desire shooting behind. While Elijah, skinny and empty-handed, slips in invisible as a once favored, since disgraced uncle through the propped open side door. Inside, I've been awaiting a miracle since 1962, my 9-year-old self slouching on this slip-covered sofa, Manischewitz stashed beneath the cushion. Where are the fire-tinged horses, the chariots to transport me? Where is the whirlwind and brimstone? Instead, our dull-bladed sleigh rusts in the storage bin beneath the building's soot-covered flight of cellar stairs. Come back to me, Father, during December's perfect snowfall, and pull me once more up Skank and down Pitkin, where the line wraps around Church Hall. Show me again the snapshot of the skull-capped boy on Santa's lap. Let me laugh this time and levitate like a magician's assistant, awed by my own weightlessness. Give me the imagination to climb the fire escape and look up toward the godless heavens and to marvel at the ordinary sky.
Martine, you had a comment?
Well, it's beautifully done. I first of all remember Pitkin Avenue very well.
We're talking Brooklyn.
Talking the East New York section of Brooklyn, which is a very different animal. When people today talk about Brooklyn, they talk about some world that we never knew. Bed and breakfast in Brooklyn, to me, that is oxymoronic. I'm talking about...
Yeah, years ago it would just be plain moronic.
Yes. Well, no, I mean, we both remember the Brooklyn that went up in flames in the urban riots in the late 60s. This is very, very Elijah versus Santa, and it begins with weight advantage Santa. You're hooked. You're hooked. But there's also something else I want to say, which is that it's important to remember that there are other awarenesses around the holiday season, whether they are Jewish or Islamic or atheist or agnostic, and yet what we have in common, many of us, is to borrow a phrase from Judaic tradition, a belief in tikkun olam, to repair the world. And in order to repair the world, we have to imagine a better world first, a different world first.
We have to imagine the angels are bread.
Absolutely.
Let's leave it there. Rich Michelson, Martina Espada, it is an honor and a pleasure to have you in the studio reading your poems this morning. Thanks so very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.